So, fellas, and my hard R fellers that have joined the channel, Tucker Carlson finally decided to give one of his legendary softball interviews to Nick Fuentes. Nick is playing his mainstream media circuit flawlessly. He's been made to seem so scary and extreme, where from a PR perspective, he's doing exactly what he should do. Just be normal and matter of fact with his views in an approachable and populist way. As always, I will be adding some deeper context to what Nick is saying. You might think to yourself, Ardy, are you sure you want to align with Nick Fuentes? Well, I can answer that rather honestly and candidly. After about the 20th trans kid and 20 millionth illegal immigrant in my country, I'm ready to listen to anybody. Quick editor's note, this video is heavily copyrighted, so I'm gonna have to obscure the video of them talking. My apologies if it's distracting, but you should watch the full video on Tucker Carlson's channel if you would like to see the original video. So, without further ado, crack open a Capri Sun, start playing with your Happy Meal toy, and let's jump in this sandbox.
I said, you know, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm a freshman.
Still a freshman in college, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, to accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism.
Now, this does appear to be a classic line from Menace the Menace. In May of 2011, he said, people always suggest that Jews have dual loyalty. They never suggest that Irish Americans have dual loyalty. And in August of 2019, he says, American Jews, whether ethnic or religious, are loyal to America, not Israel. Any dual loyal supposition is anti-Semitism. This is the game that will always be played. When convenient, they're unique and historically special and unlike any other ethnicity or religion. Also when convenient, they can just equivocate themselves to the Irish. You mean the Irish Catholics, Ben? Why doesn't anyone suggest that European Catholics have a dual loyalty to the American Christian nation? Probably because they're not antithetical to one another, Ben. Probably because they don't think Jesus should be swimming in a bucket of shit. Also, there's no word the Irish get to use to shut down all conversation about themselves, like the word anti-Semitism. So Ben's position is that the mere supposition is anti-Semitic. You don't have to say it. If you just have an uncertain belief that it might be true, then it's already anti-Semitic.
And like, this is how it sort of begins. And I see this tweet. And by the way, that was on Christmas Eve in 2016.
He immediately called you an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm. So then I put out another tweet similar. I said something like, if you're China first, you should live in China. If you're Mexico first, you should live in Mexico. If you're Israel first, maybe you should go live in Israel. And again, he quote tweets me and says, you're an anti-Semite. And so...
Were you surprised that he knew you were?
Yeah, I was.
I mean, we're seeing this right now with the woke right accusations. It's anyone that's critical of Israel, and they put everybody, whether they're Christian nationalists, libertarians, it doesn't matter. It's just if you're criticizing Israel, now they're just like, well, we can't call them Nazis because that's what the left does, so we're just gonna call them woke right. This is history repeating itself. And I mean, this is like 9 years ago this happened. This is why people are fed up. It's the same thing over and over again. Who am I talking about? Am I talking about the left right now? Where do you think the left gets it from? It is the same thing in perpetuity until you bend the knee and acquiesce. Well, I think we're kind of done doing that, fellas, don't you think? This storyline's getting kind of boring, don't you think?
And so for them, it was very easy that if they detected that a promising young guy was going to become anti-Israel in the conservative movement, they could crush that person easily and grind them under the heel. So they sort of were alerted, oh, there's a precocious young guy that isn't on board with Israel. We'll keep an eye on him. And if he gets too vocal or popular, we'll cut him down, we'll crush him. Because at this time, as you know, in 2017, it's a very different time. 2016, 17,
yeah.
Any criticism or dissent on the subject was a death sentence. You became radioactive, unhireable, blacklisted, and that's exactly what happened. And basically from then on, it was just this escalating series of blacklisting, censorship, hit pieces, rumors to try to ostracize me from the movement. And
while you're a college student?
Yes, as a freshman, yeah.
This is also very important to note, where in 2017, You really couldn't talk about things like this. We can talk about it now. I mean, even in 2024, you couldn't really talk about it, like how you can talk about it in 2025. As difficult as it still is to bring up a white positive identity now, you really couldn't do it in 2017 at all. So we are making headway with having these grievances addressed, and Nick Fuentes did pave the way for these conversations.
And out for a job training at the end of July 2017, so after that second semester. And I applied for this field rep job. It was this 2-week training. And I go there, and on the first day of the whole thing, they go around the room of all the prospective applicants. It's like a big tryout, basically, for 2 weeks. And they wanted to get everybody to break the ice and know each other. So we did introductions. They said, say your name, how old you are, and why you're a conservative. And at this time, people are not where, let's say, we are right now. They're not America first. They're not anything like, they're not talking about great replacement. That's not on the radar for them. So you go around the room and you hear stuff about small government, free markets, personal responsibility, that sort of thing. And they get to me and I said, well, I'm a conservative because we're losing our civilization because of mass immigration. America doesn't resemble America anymore. France is no longer France. I said, and if we don't conserve the demographics, forget about the rest. That's what we need to conserve. And I said that. And I was told later on that at that moment, I was immediately disqualified by the people that were running the job training.
On what grounds?
They said that was too far right. That was too extreme.
Worrying about who lives in your country is far right?
Apparently.
And so this is the crux of the issue. When applied to America, it's considered far right. When applied to Israel, it's not. What we want is what people in Israel get to have without the same title of anti-Semitic or racist or all the other slew of anti-white shutting down conversation names that they call you. We just want equal treatment. We just want what other people have. And that's where a lot of this resentment comes from. And Nick has toned down his rhetoric because now he's finally getting mainstream platforming of his ideas. So what do you want him to do? Start spurging out? Start J-spurging? No. He should be as straightforward and simple and really make the message so simple and straightforward a boomer could understand it. I'm sorry, the new boomer is Gen X. Even a Gen X person could understand it.
So where does that leave you ideologically? Like, how are you changing at this point?
So at this point, I'm realizing that something is deeply wrong here in the conservative movement because we were led to believe in those days of the campus culture wars and Gamergate and all that is that we're the marketplace of ideas and we're about free speech and the rest of it. And here I am being like nuked from orbit by Ben Shapiro as a kid and for asking what I thought were reasonable questions. Because I didn't come from some strange background. I come from a normal home. My parents are Catholic. They're married. We came from a relatively affluent suburb. I went to Lyons Township. That's like a very affluent high school. In other words, I didn't wake up as like the son of, William Luther Pierce. I wasn't like a skinhead or something. I was like a normal guy that was like, yeah, like country's too diverse. We're too pro-Israel. Like this is reasonable. And I was just getting sandbagged for it and blacklisted. And what's more, nobody cared. Like, because I remember going on Twitter and saying like, why isn't anyone sticking up for me? Where's Dave Rubin? The free speech warrior. Where's he on this one? Where's Shapiro? Where's all these people? And in some way, they were all sort of complicit in this. So I realized that the conservative movement was completely bankrupt in that way.
And here we have the journey of liberalism being a facade. So many of us were brought up with a sense of fairness. How we are now isn't who we are, it's what we became. You feel like a sucker after a while, preaching fairness and open-mindedness just to watch it be weaponized against you when you realize the people that oppose you aren't playing by those very same rules. They're tribal and self-interested. After enough time of being told it's racist across the street, you think to yourself, as you go to the Indian convenience store, and Arab gas station, and if you're a little light in the loafers, the Vietnamese nail shop, you start to realize, I've been ignoring everyone else's in-group preference my entire life because as a white liberal, I was taught that white people shouldn't have that and everyone else should. Once that mask falls off, depending on who you are, let's just say you begin to build a little bit of resentment that you've been lied to your entire life. So let's broach the topic of identity politics and see the very fine line Nick has to walk.
I think it's like mushy liberal bullshit, which I hate. And I hate all the language that you're describing. I get why it offends you because it's code for I don't really believe what I'm saying.
Right.
I have a PhD in the subject, so I know. But I also think there's like a true, not just principle, but like spiritual reality that we have to defend, which is God created every person as an individual, not as a group. No woman gave birth to a community. Like we hate that kind of thinking, right? Collectivist thinking like that. That's identity politics. But we're not going to be that, right? Or no?
No, I completely agree with you. And, you know, like, and not to be that guy and say that thing, but like, my best friend is a Jewish person.
No,
you know,
I
so
know,
like, but here's my substantive disagreement because as a Catholic, I could not agree more with you.
Yes.
In what you're saying. I love all people, even the ones that don't like us. We have to love them all, and we have to recognize that
we're required to.
Yes. And especially Aquinas says the Jews are a witness people. And so they actually have special protections under the law, according to Catholic philosophy. But I guess my substantive disagreement, which I've said on the show also.
All right, Nick, you buttered him up. Time to give him the good.
Is the idea that neoconservatism and Israel has nothing to do with Jewishness, Jewish identity, the Jewish religion, because clearly the state of Israel and the neocons are deeply motivated by that ethnic identity, and their allegiance to Israel proceeds from that. You know, the plan of greater Israel, the blood and soil nationalism of Israel, it stems from this ethno-religion, which is Judaism.
Well, this is, just BLM, the new version. This is identity politics. They're engaging in identity politics.
Oh yeah, dude. It's completely the same thing. 2,500 years of BLM. You know what? I think Tucker is right. This demographic is just like BLM. The constant antagonization, refusing to assimilate, the oppression narrative, the record-breaking effeminate behavior, the dumb haircuts, always wanting more no matter how much they have. Wait, who am I talking about? Oh yeah, these vile juvenile BLM activists. Sorry about that. Didn't want to be anti-Semitic and give you the wrong impression. Some of my best friends are BLM.
The problem in your response is it does not apply to every individual.
No, and I would never say that.
Okay. Well, I just think it's important to say that, not to kind of like dodge the accusations against you. My best friends are Jewish. Like, okay, I agree. Embarrassing, even though it's probably true. And it's true in my case, actually. But whatever. But because just that principle that we're all judged as individuals by what we do, that our faith, the decisions that we make, the way we live our lives, and God will judge every one of us in that way. And that's how we're supposed to judge. Like, I think that's true.
Yeah, and I totally agree. But I guess the disagreement is...
Love it. Comfort your interlocutor by whatever means possible. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And here's where we disagree. Yeah, dude, get it.
You say identity politics like it's a bad thing. I think identity is a reality.
Identity is a reality. Absolutely. You just can't have a country of 350 million this diverse where it's just like warring ethnicities.
Uh-huh. Hard to have warring ethnicities when there's one ethnicity, you know? Wouldn't that really fix the problem? You know what? Let's go with the current strategy right now with the whole melting pot thing. Yeah, what am I talking about?
And, the people with the most force just kill the others. So, like, you can't have that here, right?
Yeah, but I would say specifically as it pertains to, you, I think, have said it's the neocons, and I think that neoconservatism, where does it arise from? It arises from Jewish leftists who were mugged by reality when they saw the surprise attack in the Yom Kippur War.
Yeah, that's a lot of it, for sure. But then, like, how do you explain Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, and there are a lot like that, John Bolton. I mean, I've known them all, George W. Bush, like Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I've seen, like, be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish.
Yes, Tucker, the term you're looking for is Shabbos Goy.
Most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that?
Right.
And I could just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody. Because like, what? Because it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian.
Oh, we are walking a very tightrope, fellas. Like, it definitely seems like Tucker is having Nick on just to platform his ideas and soften them and normalize them. But what does that mean? What's the crux of his ideology? Let's find out what really makes the Nick man tick. I would love to know, what about Nick Fuentes' position you disagree with? What do you view as inaccurate or untrue with what he's about to say?
So tell me your views. Like, rather than, you're one of those people, one of the reasons I wanted to meet you is you're one of those people who is defined by clips.
Yes.
And I'm one of those people also.
Yes.
Right? So I get it. So I'm going to just shut up and you tell me what you actually believe.
I mean, as far as the Jews are concerned, I think that, like I said, you cannot actually divorce Israel and the neocons and all of those things that you talk about from Jewishness. Ethnicity, religion, identity. And let me give you like a perfect example. So you say on your show that we need to treat Israel like any other country. And I sort of understand that in principle because Israel is another foreign country.
Yeah.
But Israel is unlike every other country in the sense that because the Jewish people are in a diaspora all over the world, there are significant numbers of Jews in Europe, but also in the United States. And because of their unique heritage and story, which is that they're a stateless people, they're unassimilable, they resist assimilation for thousands of years. And I think that's a good thing. And now they have this territory in Israel. There's a deep religious affection for the state. It's bound up in their identity, the story of the Exodus from Egypt, the promise of the land, all these things. So
oh yeah, dude, it's one of Nick Fuentes' favorite things, not assimilating. But he's finally here. He said too much, and then he peeled it back a little bit. That's great. Didn't assimilate? It's a fantastic thing to do if it's not near me.
Let's say in the United States, for example, somebody like a Sheldon Adelson, he's not Israeli. Is he an ideological neocon? Does he believe in the promise of democratic globalism? I don't think necessarily. His heart is in Israel. And it's because he is a proud Jewish person. And I guess what I'm saying is that if you are a Jewish person in America, you're sort of, and again, it's not because they're born, but it's sort of a rational self-interest politically to say, I'm a minority. I'm a religious ethnic minority. This is not really my home. My ancestral home is in Israel. There's like a natural affinity that Jews have for Israel. And I would say on top of that, for the international Jewish community.
Yeah. Instead of being effeminate and subversive, can we just be open and honest about these things and white people can also do the same things? Is that really so much to ask?
They're extremely organized, and many of them are critical of Israel or Israel's current government or the project of Israel. But I guess what they have in common, unlike, let's say, like Singapore, for example, is that they have this international community across borders, extremely organized, that is putting the interests of themselves before the interests of their home country. And there's no other country that has a similar arrangement like that. No other country has a strong identity like that, this religious blood and soil conviction, this history of being in the diaspora, stateless, wandering, persecuted, and in particular, the historic animosity between the Jewish people and the Europeans. And I don't think that's me saying the Jews. I don't think that's me being hateful. I don't think that's me being collectivist. I think that's understanding that identity politics, whether you love it or hate it, whatever you feel about it, it's a reality that we live in a world of Jews and Christians, of whites and blacks. These identities mean something to us and they mean things to each other, and we can't sort of wish them away. And it feels like white people and Christians are the only ones that do that.
There's no question about that, your last point, for sure.
So let's end it here. Can we all agree, if we want to dial the temperature down, we're supposed to hear out the aggrieved demographic? Why, I remember hearing that rioting is the voice of the unheard. White people don't do that. We're not violent. You see, in the world of white, screaming the N-word and trashing the tiny helmets is the voice of the unheard. We can't call you racist. We can't call you anti-Semitic. You'll laugh us out of the room if we call you anti-white. You've reduced us to a series of slurs. We don't sharpen our spears. We sharpen our tongues. The fellas in Canada and the UK might go to jail for making a video like this. That's how bad it is. If you don't want to talk, you're gonna get the mock. And we will defend ourselves with the Glock. Have a good one.